Welcome to the Hashtime Show. We are back once again, but today we have a special guest, Miss Santia. She is one of the top female athletes. Okay, I'm gonna let her introduce herself because nobody can give a better intro than you. You get what I mean? So
Sure.
Go ahead and let them know who you are, what you do.
Okay. So my name is Santia Deck, also known as Trackbaby. I am known for being offered the highest contract in women's football, and also making history by, a second time by becoming the first female athlete to own a shoe company. So I'm an athlete that happens to be an entrepreneur.
That's real dope. So take notes, y'all. If y'all want to be an athlete, don't forget the entrepreneur aspect because you kind of need both in this world.
Yes,
you know,
you do.
Have a little backup. Don't always depend on one thing. Always have something else that you can return to or have on the sideline.
Exactly.
But yeah, I know that you're from South Carolina, right?
Yes.
But you grew up in Texas.
Yes.
How was it living in Texas?
Oh man, hot.
Yeah,
Texas was very hot. Like
Yeah.
my childhood, I just remember always being hot because I ran summer track.
Okay.
And summers in Houston, Texas is no joke. So I would say growing up in that environment, that made me into the athlete that I am.
Okay.
But also, like, I grew up in a very athletic family. All my brothers played football, all were running back. So it was kind of funny that I ended up turning to running back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like we were all very close. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs. So my mom, she helped my stepfather who owned radio stations and managed artists. So we grew up in like a music family, you know, so we were always traveling and doing things and just busy. As I can say, we were just busy. But honestly, it was amazing. I miss Houston all the time. Like Texas, you know, I have to say this, it's the best place to live, period, anywhere. Our vibe is different, our energy is different. We just be chilling. Like,
okay. So what part of Texas
Houston.
are you referring to? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think Texas as a whole is the dopest or just Houston?
Okay, well, if you want to talk about in specific, Houston for sure, because other places in Texas might say the same thing, but if you're from Texas, you already know. You already know for real.
Houston #1. Y'all already know. Y'all heard it. Texas, Houston. That's it.
Exactly.
Nowhere else to be. So as a kid, did you always see yourself as a professional athlete, or was there something else that you inspired to be when you were growing up?
So I definitely always wanted to be an athlete. Like my goal was to be an Olympian actually. Like I used to write down, I want to be an Olympian. We had like, what do you want to be days or whatever. But I also loved animals and I loved children. So like I was going back and forth between being like a journalist. Like I wanted to be one of those people that went out on like safaris and like documented animals and stuff. And then I also wanted to be I don't know what exactly I wanted to do with children, but it was either social work or something where I was saving children from bad environments and helping them and pouring into that community. But from a very young age, I knew I wanted to do something with animals and kids. And in a way, I've not animals, but children I feel like what I'm doing is giving back. But I still love animals, like all types of animals. So yeah.
Yeah, I love kids too. Honestly, I wanted to do something in the field of behavior analysis. So that's just looking at the behaviors of different children and fixing their problem behaviors and turning them into actual good behaviors. Because I know a lot of times when people parent, they always say, no, don't do this, but they never teach the right behavior. So yeah, that was one of the things.
I like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to do. But moving into basically the social space when it comes down to being a female athlete. So I know there's a lot of stigma that goes on with it, right? A lot of people have a lot to say.
They do.
And really don't know much about much. But coming from a female athlete, do you feel like there are certain stigmas when it comes down to female athletes? And have you experienced some of those stigmas yourself?
Man, where do I start?
And wherever you want to start.
Okay, I guess the number one thing is that we are just these super masculine, dominant females that don't need a man for nothing, and we want to be the dominant person in the relationship or whatever it may be. And that could be the furthest from the truth. Like, of course, I mean, there's some people that might feel that way. There's some women that might actually be that way. But I know a lot more female athletes that are like teddy bears. They're soft. they're feminine, they're dainty, but when they put on that uniform,
For sure.
they do what they're supposed to do. So I would say that. I would also say that we are trying to like get into the male space, meaning like if I play soccer, I want to play soccer with the men. If I play football, I want to play in the NFL. And that is not true either. Like we just want to be recognized and appreciated and given fair opportunity and and exposure that the men have, but in our own space. So I play women's football. I only want to play with women. I got to make this clear. I don't want to play in the NFL. I see that going around the internet all the time. So I just want to make sure that as a female athlete, being a female football player, I get to get paid, take care of my family. When I have children, make sure that they have daycare and everything so that I can do my job full time. I want the same opportunities that men have. That's really it.
For sure. I mean, I feel like everybody deserves that space. Sports isn't just for men. When we grew up in high school, sports weren't just for guys. There was a women's basketball team, a men's basketball team, all of such. So I feel like women should have the same right just as men. Like, if y'all want to play sports, play sports. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Men aren't the only people who know how to run and throw a ball.
I'm saying.
Men aren't the only people.
You'd be surprised how they feel sometimes.
For sure. Now, do you think that men really, at the end of the day, feel threatened? Because I know a lot of men probably don't even know how to run as fast as you or throw a ball like you do. Like, do you feel like that's a threat to some guys?
I would say, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it is. I personally haven't really met anyone that said, oh my gosh, you're way too athletic or whatever for me. I can't deal with you. But I feel like men are intimidated by maybe the combination. So like me being, a female athlete, but also being a successful entrepreneur.
Right.
I think that combination is like, wow, that's just a lot of masculine energy, not knowing that if you actually sat down and had a conversation with me, like,
it's just successful energy.
Yeah.
They have it wrong.
Yeah. So like, it's funny, like when I've gone on dates with different guys and stuff like that, and they're just like, oh wow, like you're so different. Yeah. I thought you were going to be just like, and I'm like, what is this? What does this mean? And they're just like, I don't know. I just pictured you different. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay. So whatever. So I get that sometimes. Yeah. But, I mean, I feel like people are always going to make, assumptions when it comes to being a female athlete. Definitely me playing a tackle sport. So,
for sure.
Contact sport. So, yeah.
And I feel like that's with really any occupation. Because say, for instance, if you have a female rapper and she, raps about some gritty things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're going to automatically stigmatize, okay, since you rap about this is what you're about.
This is your personality.
That's what they're going to approach you with, basically.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, all we can do is just speak our truth and let people realize who we truly are, because every stigma that's out there does not mean it's true.
Exactly.
And sometimes we just need to get to know people for ourselves instead of grouping one another, instead of putting everybody in these separate categories. It's a lot. Like, I want to go as far as zodiac signs, but we ain't even gonna touch on that. We're not gonna touch on that. But the whole grouping thing. Yeah. People just have to realize that we're individuals. Yes. Everybody's not the same. We're never gonna be the same. So just get to know people for who they truly are inside. You know what I mean?